about podcasting and what you can use a podcast for, how you can start a podcast, what makes a great podcast, and also what you can do, how having a podcast could enhance your brand. Just recently, I was featured in a article on Authority Magazine about 5 things that make a successful podcast. So it's kind of sort of my blueprint on what makes a great podcast. So I'm here to answer any questions or help you all to clarify any misconceptions about podcasts, and also talk to you all about the launch of my ebook, Launch Your Podcast Like a Pro, that will be live today via my PayHip link. So people can, so that you all can follow my steps on creating a very engaging, very interactive podcast, and also to enhance your brand. So these are the things that I think will make a great podcast. One, having an engaging host. Make sure you're always cheerful and talkative and engaging. Even though people are listening, you want people to feel that you care about talking to them, and also you are passionate about what you're speaking about. My second thing is making sure the topics are relatable, and also the topics are engaged, that it keeps people's attention and engaged. My third thing, and I will go back and elaborate on each of the 5 things I talk about. The third thing is the consistency in posting on time and on the schedule. And then the fourth thing, really would like to say about your promotion, your branding, making sure that your branding fits your personality and it's eye-catching. And then the fifth thing is always being authentic. So let's touch on launching a podcast. There are so many different platforms that are out here. One that I use in particular is called Anchor. Anchor gives you, it distributes over, I think they're still adding platforms, but so far I'm on 8 different platforms, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google. So they actually do the legwork for you. Anchor gives you the ability to record and edit and launch in the same sitting, and you can also have guests on. So you can. It's very easy. It's a great app for beginners who want to start their podcast and get the distribution that's needed. And you could also personalize it with your own graphics. You can also add theme music. You could do commercials. You could have sponsored ads. So all of these things Anchor offers. So when we get to talking about the different platforms, that's the main one that I use. I know there are plenty out there. In my ebook, I list some other podcast platforms, but the one I prefer and that I would tell any beginner is to start with Anchor. I have used it. It served its purpose. It's actually, promoting for me as well. It's easy to send the links out and everything. So the next thing that we did touch on is your guests that you have. Make sure if you do the podcast alone, or if you want to have guests, make sure you plan your questions out. Make sure that they are familiar with your platform before they come on, just a little bit, and you're familiar with them as well, so that the conversation can flow. A lot of times you don't want it to be a Q&A. You want it to be a conversation, because there are other people who are listening, and you want them to remain engaged in the conversation that you're having. You would like to make sure you have in guests that, that are not the norm that you would normally have, but, even up and comers or other businesses or like businesses, you can have them on your platform. You can have the conversation to help people understand different things that go on in your industry. You can also have people who are outside of your industry. So the options are amazing that you could have. I think that right now that we're quarantined and it's a pandemic, and people are looking for entertainment. They're looking for things that will nurture their mind. They're looking for other things to keep them occupied and growing. So, launching your podcast right now is a great thing to do. So I think that, you know, learning this and understanding your audience and showing the side of you using a podcast is great for your brand as well. So those are the things. So in my book that will be live this evening, you will these are the questions and these are the prompts that we'll talk about and help you to plan out your podcast and execute it, and also learn to market it. A lot of podcasters have their own Facebook page or on Instagram, or some space on their website that will promote it. I think that that's a perfect way for you to use it as a platform to grow that side of you. So those are the things that, you would definitely want to consider when you're launching your podcast. If you have anyone who's on, if you have any questions, you can leave them here and I'll answer them. I do think that proper planning and, proper, structure will help you to have a great podcast launch. There's so many out there, but you want to stand out and show your personality and show who you are. So stay tuned.